Now, the Green Party will launch its manifesto later with the title For the Common Good.
It wants what it calls a peaceful political revolution to end austerity and tackle climate change. To tell us more about the manifesto, we're joined by Andrew Cooper from the Green Party, who's the energy spokesperson.
Hello.
Morning.
Morning.
What is a peaceful political revolution? Revolution is the overthrow of the established order. You're going to get rid of the House of Commons or what?
No, I think what we're actually looking at here is saying we've had years and years of austerity. We've had all the issues associated with that. We want to see, as do our colleagues who we've worked with in Plaid Cymru and the SNP, we're wanting to see an end to austerity. We're wanting to tax the rich more, and we're wanting to invest that more in public services.
A lot more public services. In fact, you're going to create more than a million what you call good jobs that pay a living wage, free social care for the elderly, build 500,000 social rented homes, scrap university tuition fees. That's going to cost an awful lot of money.
We're investing in the wrong things. If you look at what we're spending money on at the moment, we're spending £100 billion on the Trident missile programme. We're spending £45 billion on HS2. We're also looking at things such as raising corporation tax by 20% to 30% to actually look at drawing in over £10 billion in that way. So there is money out there is money to be saved, and there is money to be gained.
So
and the top rate of income tax, of course, we've said we'd raise that to 60p.
Yeah. Free social care for the elderly is going to cost you £9 billion a year by 2019. So where exactly is that money going to come from? Just going to save the £100 billion by just sort of selling off the Trident submarines? Or?
No, we've got a whole host of things that we're looking at in those terms, and I'm not going to launch our manifesto here and now, but it's all there and all laid out, and I've just gone through some of the things that we'd be looking at right there and now.
But people watching now aren't going to be watching your manifesto launch, and they might be interested to know where you are going to find £9 billion a year for free social care for the elderly.
Well, I've just mentioned corporation tax as one area where we're raising corporation tax, which would bring in £10 billion a year. I've mentioned Trident, the Trident, where we would get £3 billion a year, raising the 60p rate, which is £2 billion a year. There are other things coming through which would help that as well.
What is the Green Party's position on growth, economic growth? Do the Greens believe in growth at all?
We don't think it's a good way to measure society. We think there are, obviously, if you are investing in things such as insulation measures, we've got a mass insulation programme that we're talking about putting out to 9 million homes. And if you look at that programme, which is about the equivalent of HS2, that would put £2.7 billion back into the economy if each household saved about £300 as a result of that programme. And that's changing the way we actually look at saving energy.
If you raise the top rate of income tax, if you raise corporation tax, it means in effect you're squeezing higher earners and businesses in a way. That's not going to help end austerity. It's going to bring it on, isn't it?
But actually everybody benefits from an equal society. If we look at other countries across the EU which have higher tax rates, then they're much more equal than we. We're the most
other
equal
countries
societies.
Have higher tax rates mean people just don't do as much work when they're earning more because they don't want to give it to the government. Well,
we've seen that the trickle-down effect doesn't work. We've seen that people, there's this myth that goes around that when people get more and more money, that all trickles down further down the economy. That tends not to happen. So taxation is the way that you deal with that.
All right. Andrew, thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Okay, thank you.
Andrew Cooper for the Green Party, because as we've been telling you, the Green Party setting out their manifesto today, promising amongst other things a 60% rate of tax. Let's speak to Andrew Cooper. So is that's your headline message that you want to get out there? Is it the 60% rate of tax?
It's certainly one of them. That's our highest rate for tax. It's not for everybody, but that's for the highest rate. We want the rich to pay more. And we want to make sure that helps fund public services.
And on that, I mean, you're talking about creating a million public sector jobs paying the living wage. How would you possibly do that? How would that be funded?
Well, there's an awful lot that we're actually looking at in terms of raising tax. We're looking at corporation tax, raising that for big business from 20% to 30%. We're looking at a financial transaction tax on the banks, the people who actually caused the financial crisis, which would bring in £8 billion a year. We're looking at scrapping the Trident missile programme, which is $100 billion in total, but $3 billion a year in terms of cost. So all these sort of things begin to add up to something which will help actually fund a lot of the things that we're about.
What about the private sector driving jobs growth? It sounds like you're wanting to sort of squash that and actually funnel the money across to the public sector and boost jobs that way. Is that really a way for long-term economic growth?
What we actually want to do is actually help people who are actually suffering in terms of public services at the moment. Public services are declining at a huge rate. There's over 1 million people, there's over 1,000 people in the council I represent who are about to lose their job, and across the whole country that could rise enormously. So we need to have a new programme moving forward. We have a mass insulation programme which would help 9 million homes.
Sorry, you didn't answer the question. I mean, is taking money away from the private sector and handing it over to the public sector in order to deliver jobs growth there actually the way to stimulate the economy and get a growing economy that delivers jobs? We have seen jobs creation in the private sector over the past 5 years.
If we're investing in the right things, if we're talking about a programme which would help insulate 9 million homes and put up to £2.7 billion back in the economy in terms of saved fuel bills. Now the private sector will be involved in that programme. So some of the things that we're actually on about will actually help the private sector.
Andrew Cooper, energy spokesman for the Green Party, thank you very much for joining us. Well, let's go back now to Norman Smith, who's bringing us Norman's notes on the campaign day ahead. So what have you been